Hello, this is Daniel Hill, and this is my midterm assignment, the temperature converter. What it does is you input a number here, um, and you select to convert from either Celsius or Fahrenheit, and then you'll click calculate, and it will display an output temperature here. So your input should line up with whatever you select. So if you select Celsius, you'll input a Celsius temperature. If you input Fahrenheit, you'll select or input a Fahrenheit temperature. Let me go over the code. So first, it really just needs the one event handler. Um, so first I declared my variables. I have a temperature input, a temperature output, an output around it that I use later, and a Fahrenheit lower input or lower limit and a Celsius lower limit. And the first thing it does is it converts the input to decimal, and then we go into the if statements. So the first condition that it checks is whether or not Celsius or Fahrenheit is checked. One of them has to always be checked because of the group box, and since Celsius defaults, um, there can never be one unchecked. So first I handled Celsius, so if Celsius is checked, then it will first validate the input. I tried to check for null, and this has worked in the past like this, um, but this time it gave me an error when I was running it. But since this was not a required part, it doesn't matter too much if it works or not. Um, in past assignments, there was a dialog box that asked me if I wanted to break the assignment and stop running it if an input error wasn't handled. And that worked for the demonstration purposes, but it didn't this time, so I'll ignore it. But here is how it checks if the input is below the certain temperature, the Celsius lower limit, and it'll throw a message box. And then here is the math to convert it to Fahrenheit. So we got the output equals temperature input times 9D divided by 5D. I had to put the D in there because it tried to make those doubles plus 32. And then I used math.round because if I didn't round it, the output ended up going off the screen of my form, and I didn't like that. So I rounded it to 2 decimal places, and then this changes the output text to say output temperature is output rounded degrees Fahrenheit. And then I did the same exact thing for Fahrenheit. I won't get too into it. The only different part here is the numbers in the um, lower limit and the math here. I use the equation. Again, I had to put a D here so it didn't change it to double and not want to run. And then I rounded it to 2, and then the output temperature is Celsius. So let me run it. As you can see, no errors. So let me try converting from Celsius first. Let me put 50. So the output temperature is 122 degrees Fahrenheit. I guess I can keep 50 in there and just check Fahrenheit. And that's 10 degrees Celsius. I can try a different number. 80 Fahrenheit is 26. 80 Celsius is 176 Fahrenheit. Alright, now let me deal with some of those limits. So the lower limit was, what, negative 273 on Celsius, so let me do 274. And I get the message box here, temperature too low error, please input a temperature above negative 273. Let's try Fahrenheit, I believe it was, what, 459.4. So let's try negative 460. Please input a temperature above negative 459.4 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's both of those handled. Again, I can put in really big numbers. Let me try. Yep. So everything seems to be working properly. Again, the only thing I couldn't get it to handle was if the input was blank. I'm getting this, and normally unchecking this would work, but it doesn't here. But since that was not a required element, then I don't think it matters too much, and I'm not too concerned about making it work yet. But that is the temperature converter. Thank you very much.